the one thing that I keep getting in the comments, and not just in the comments, but I suppose the reason people feel like this is because it's being reiterated by the Tartarian channels or people that are putting out content with a similar message. It's a horse and cart. What? Just with horse and cart. And the horse and cart argument is just a massive straw man of construction history, especially in the 19th century. And so one thing I love doing is finding new archives. And I found one, and it's like a British railway archive. And it's crazy because they've got all these different archives, these photo collections, and some of them run from 19th century to the 20th, early 20th century. And this crew collection, there's about 2,500 photographs in here. And this Derby one, there's 21,000. So I don't think you can access them all online, but there's a hefty amount. But I think, you'd have to go in person to see most of them. But I did pick out a few of my highlights. I had a quick look. So let me see if I can.
That's what always blows my mind with the horse and buggy narrative is it's not even in line with what the mainstream narrative is actually explaining. So you really are just proving that you're making your own stuff up. You're making your own history by saying horse and buggy. So what you would be saying is all these photos are fake because they're showing fake technology that wasn't actually there. Steam engines weren't there. Rail technology wasn't there. It's just horse and buggy in your narrative. So you now have to double down even more. And anytime you see these photos, you have to say all this technology that's being shown in the photos is fake because all they had was horse and buggy and hammer and chisel.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And it's the same with the empty photographs or the construction photographs. They say, like, oh, it's just a few people standing around. But this archive shows otherwise, so you do see people, laying bricks, doing all kinds of things. And you also see that exposure, the sensitivity to people moving and then blurring. But some of these photos are great because it actually opened my eyes to a few things. So that's another argument is, when we do see construction photos, it's just a couple of guys standing around. And these guys are because they know there's a camera here. But you can see the sensitivity of the cameras at the time. When people move, it blurs. And they are doing something, they've got their bricks and stuff and they're all filthy. You can tell they're hardworking guys. I mean, look at these guys. But yeah, and they're moving around and they're doing stuff. But these photographs, these are just some highlights from that archive I found. And they're really interesting because this right here is a really interesting one because it's a 19th century, I think it's 1860, 65, something like that. But this is a portable brick machine. So again, it's not just horse and cart. It's not everything's handmade. And this is only a portable one. So this isn't for like mass production. But you can see here they're doing that. And what's even more interesting, that's a child right there. It's a young boy helping out. And again, what you're seeing here is wagons pulling stuff, pulling bricks, crane mechanisms. This all works, this stuff, But they get better anyway. So this one is fantastic because this is them building St. Pancras. And this is the cellars because St. Pancras actually doubled up as a brewery for beer. And they're building all these cellars, and you can see the wood here. That's what you call a center. So actually, any masonry, any construction is nothing without carpentry. And they've got all these centers up, and they line the bricks up on top, and that's how it's done. You can see the center here in the corner, and again, you can see the crane. This is a steam-powered crane. So this is completely possible. This is not a fake photograph. There is no way. And I don't know whether this is actually whether the ground level's been raised now. I'd have to look into that. But this is a sort of thing that's underneath our feet. And again, there's your horse here. So one horse is pulling all this gravel, all this dirt. And look at the earthworks around it. I mean, these guys are moving loads of stuff. And this is fantastic as well, because you were talking about the temporary tracks. So it wasn't just horse and cart pulling things in. They built these temporary tracks. This is what people don't understand is that they say, oh, what about all the shots with the mud where they're digging up the railways? They're not. They're temporary tracks. They lay them down, and this is a portable steam crane that's been shuffled in. And you can see all the bricks here.
I've never seen a photo like that. That is amazing. And even just the background, what you can see they're building there that's fading from the light. That's a really beautiful photograph.
Really nice, isn't it? Really good, that one. This is fantastic as well because this is actually a winding engine. Now, again, you've got your temporary tracks. So, guys, they're not digging out railway tracks from the mud. These are temporary tracks with a cart that's attached to this winding engine. And this is a steam station. You can see the steam coming out here, and it powers this cable and drags all this dirt in, all these big rocks. So again, it's not just horse and cart. And I know they're posing and whatnot, but again, he's blurred because he's moved. There's another child. These people are young. Some of these people. And that's another winding engine. Again, I mean, look at these mechanisms. It's all wood, a lot of it. And again, temporary tracks, brick loads in this cart here. And yeah, they must just, this mechanism, it just pulls all this stuff in. So again, it's not the horse and cart just bringing it in. And these are fantastic as well. This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy because this is them doing the railways when they did it. And, people say, oh, mud flood, mud flood, mud flood. We are under the ground here. And this, again, these are the tunnels that they're building. And again, this is a center that they use. It's wood. You've got the chains there, keeping it in place as they pile the bricks up and let the mortar set. I mean, this is deep. Again, you can't say these are fake. You'd have to debunk everyone.
No, I think what people would say is they would look at the walls and say, well, look how aged it is. Look, it's so old. But I've seen modern day construction photos of the exterior of buildings that are brick, and they show the same type of weathering pretty quick.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, a case about the oldness of them. I mean, you can see here, these bricks, they're fresh. And I think I've got some photographs of them actually putting this stuff together. But yeah, these centers, incredible, really. All these ladders. This is brilliant. 1890. This is a steam excavator moving, a lot of the land. And again, these temporary tracks to haul in or haul out all the dirt, bring in the rocks, whatever they're doing. And there's a horse there. So yeah, they did use horse and cart, but it wasn't just horse and cart. It's a stark contrast when you've got the horse there pulling this rickety cart and then this crazy looking steam excavator.
That's interesting. They have the horses pulling it on the rails, which I'm sure the horse appreciated that. Makes it a lot easier.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's it. It makes it so much easier. And these horses could pull a lot. Now, this is one of my favorites. So this is, I think, in Derbyshire, England, and they're building a viaduct. This guy's out walking his dog. But you can see here, they've built a wooden temporary railway to haul in this steam crane on wheels. This is 1890. And you've got the centers, again, this amazing carpentry. And they just build these things up. That's how they do it. So it's not a case of having to, you've got a couple horses dragging all these materials down these lanes. They build all this stuff. It's all temporary infrastructure. There's another shot of them doing it. Again, you've got your temporary railway here. And yeah, they're just cracking on. And again, cranes. A lot of crane mechanisms. I think they call them derrick cranes, shear legs, gin poles. There's another shot. Again, it's fantastic. I love this. You can see the kind of faded outline of a horse up there. And you've got this portable steam crane or whatever it is. And again, the centers. And they just build these things over them. Amazing, really. All the materials. So there's another one. 1890. Steam crane. All these workers. Again, they say, like, oh, it's just a construction photograph with one lone worker. There's loads of people here. I know they're all posing for the photo, but they are moving. Another crane. Now, this one's really interesting. This is women. These are all women digging, shoveling. So even the women back in the day were tougher than the men now, probably, the majority of men now.
Yep.
And that's it. We've got children on site. We've got women. So again, people say, oh, just, with that amount of population, Well, yeah, because most of the population were hardworking, really hardworking. And these women have probably been doing something like this most of their lives. So if you start doing, all this heavy labor and construction work as a child, by the time you're, in your 30s, you're like a machine. It's like with anything, even with like sports and stuff, the younger you start, it just becomes almost ingrained in you and you become very efficient and very good at it. So that to me, that was an amazing photograph.
I can already see the comments for this one of people saying, but Ewar, who built the building in the background? Who built the cranes? Who built that lamppost? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. But the good thing about this archive is it actually's got a lot of warehouse shots of them building like components for all the trains and the railways and stuff. I might have saved a couple. This is fantastic as well. So all the coal that they'd load up onto these little barge boats and they would drift them down the canals. I mean, this is how they did things. It wasn't just horse and cart. It wasn't. That's a complete straw man of construction history. And again, these tracks, I don't know what the weight would be here, but this is in 1900. So this is before San Francisco's burnt down. And this is the kind of technology they have. And they can move this stuff. This is a casting shop. So these, I don't know exactly what they were casting, but all these little boxes and stuff, maybe they were filled with concrete or what, but these are all the molds. And again, you can see right down the middle is a temporary track for them to make things more efficient, shuffling to and fro. They don't have to carry everything. Oh, yeah, here they're doing this. These are the molds. I don't know whether it's for iron, caster iron, or whether it was concrete. I don't know, but they're working it. This is a dynamo in the 1890s. So this is electricity. It's a cat sleeping on top of it. I thought it was cool. But again, 1890, this is a long time before San Francisco's burnt down. It's a long time before, there were a lot of buildings that went up in 1890 that the narrative is 1 to 3 years. Well, yeah, because they could do it very quickly. And they had this kind of technology. It was not just horse and cart. Horse and cart lasted until well into the 20th century because the horse is a great animal, carry people around. It's another one of them centers. All the brickwork on top. Amazing.
With the whole timing of everything too, and you brought this up to me, yeah, you're dealing with less regulations. Everyone's just there to work. You get slowed down today with everything that's in place with construction sites.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like applying for a job now. I mean, oh God, how long does it take you to apply for a job? Probably, you might apply, then it's like 3 months later, you might be in the door after you've gone through all the processes of getting in the interviews and stuff like that. All this bureaucracy that's in place. And it's the same with the construction industry. Slows it all down massively. These guys just got on with it. And again, they know exactly what they're doing. This is not a reset, people. You do not just get reset in 1850 or something, and then you just crack on and can get to work like this and have all these skills. That's not what's going on here. Coal. This is all the coal, all the carts. You can see on the carts, look how faded all the branding is. This has been around for ages, these companies. It's well established.
Well, here's another lackluster thing about the Tartaria research field is you've got names showing up here. What is that? In Pecco and Co. Like you could really do some deep diving. It would not be easy at all, but I'm sure somewhere in this world you can find information that might still exist on these companies and actually do some research on them and see if they are real or not.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the great thing is it all comes attached with contractors, companies, all the bricks, they carry the stamps so you can research into the brick manufacturers, depending on the region. This one is brilliant. So this is 1890 and it's I don't know where it is in England, but East India Company. This is a docking station. Look at these cranes. Again, it's not just horse and cart, guys. You can see they've got some tracks down there. They're probably portable. You've got all the gear here loaded up. This boat is obviously moving a bit, so it's blurred in the photograph. But these cranes, this is not horse and cart. Here's a close-up of them. So the ships, there's one here, come along and load the stuff into them, load it out.
Certainly doesn't look inherited from a cataclysm.
No, definitely not. They know exactly what they're doing. There's another shot of it. Yeah, they're fantastic. It's just wood, and they can lift loads. Again, I think this is a railway, a part of a train. Sorry. Again, that's a heavy load, and it can lift it quite fine. And it's on a track. Again, it's on a track. It's portable. Nothing to do with horse and cart. Here they're digging out. I think they're widening or extending a railway. Again, you can see what the Tartarian advocates say is that this is, buried and this was an old railway. It's not. It's a temporary track. These guys are dirty, filthy. They know what they're doing. They're digging around. It's a good photograph. Again, little cranes. You got the big cranes. You got little ones. Where there's water and canals, you have these cranes.
And your brick building back there doesn't have any mud flood windows.
Nope. And it's got notices all over it. This is English. It's well established. Signs. Look, they're chatting away. Don't know what they're talking about. Maybe what they did at the weekend. Their wives or something.
Talking about the ladies.
The ladies. Again, 1890. Cranes in action. So you can see the ships would rock up. They would either be loaded or unloaded. And then you've got all these tracks ready to be loaded up and shipped away. And in the background, these sort of pyramidal shapes, these are what you call the potteries. They're in the Midlands in England. There's still some of them around. And they're fantastic. They're red brick again. They're kind of like kilns in a way. But yeah, there you go. I don't think there's a horse. Oh, there is a horse inside. There you go. There's some horses. Pulling the carts. This all worked. It all worked very well. Probably better than what we have today. And that's why they could do things so quickly. This is not a reset, people.
I'm just imagining what it would be like to go to a pub after work hours at this time frame and just imagine what the atmosphere would be like.
I know, yeah. Can you imagine? Everyone filthy, just glad to be there with their shillings and stuff. Again, this is a hefty machine, excavator, piling the dirt in there. Horse is ready to go. Strong horse. And again, they're not just standing around, they're moving. These guys are standing around, taking advantage of the camera. So this is an iron foundry, 1905. So this is where all your parts come from. This is it. I don't know what they were doing here, but iron foundry. So they're making pieces of the machines. Again, a large load. Look at that. It's like, this is this iron that they're casting and making and then transporting by these carts. So it could be done. Not a horse in sight. Everybody digging. Temporary tracks. Digging away. Some of them look quite young. This one's great because, again, people say that, you just see construction photographs of one man standing there. No, not just one man. This is a whole army of people here. And again, temporary tracks, cranes in action, temporary infrastructure up here to haul stuff in and out. This is a construction site. And again, these are old, but it's the same thing we were talking about earlier, the centering. And this is actually the Monsall Trowel Viaduct in Derbyshire. I walked this actually last year, and it's enormous. You can see the tiny people there. This thing is enormous, and it cuts across this valley. And it's amazing. And I wondered when I walked out, I thought, well, how did they do that? Well, this is how. And again, it's a fantastic piece of engineering because you've got all the timber centering, and then you build this track on top. And you've got the people in it, just hauls this stuff in, delivers it, and you build. This is amazing. So this is 1910, I think, or somewhere around then. Could be St. Pancras. I'm not sure. This guy was a parcel carrier. This is how he delivered the parcels every morning. This weird contraption. It would zoom around, I guess. It's not just horse and cart, but the horse and cart was still around during this, but they had this as well. You can see your little carts down there, and people fading, but this guy's whizzing around with all these parcels, something to do with the post office. Absolutely incredible. It's like a great job, you know. This kid's lucky. Like other kids are just digging and bricklaying. This guy's just zooming around. And I don't know why I like this one. Probably because it just shows that these are not a reset people. 1890, well established, moving around. They've got little dogs. I mean, again, a reset people, you don't just get reset in 1850 or something. And then, 40 years later, you're dressed like this. You're running all this infrastructure. You've domesticated animals. It doesn't work like that. There's just no way.
Yeah, you would have to say that they inherited the clothes as well. So then they're not actually giants. Because if they inherited all the tech, all the railways, then would they not have inherited the clothes too? Aren't the clothes filled with mud? So they did have time to be able to stitch up all this stuff after a reset to be able to dress themselves. Or then you could say, well, the controllers had a factory and they were doing all this. Like, you have to just do so much mental gymnastics to make the Tartaria hypothesis work. It's amazing that it's going on as long as it is, and it's going to continue to go on, clearly.
Completely agree. So this is fantastic as well. This is another angle of them building these underground, low ground railway tracks and tunnels. And I mean, look at this, guys. Like all these blocks here kind of make up this section, these sections, and they've been lowered by one of these cranes.
Oh, yeah, you got there the transition from the facading they're doing to, I don't know what that'd be, concrete or whatever they made. But yeah, you can see that the facading stops up there and they're going to keep building it up with the materials they're bringing in from the quarry.
And this is a temporary train, so this isn't the railway. This is just to bring it all in while they do all their stuff. I might have a couple more like this. Here's a similar one, but again, you can see the end of the tunnel for one, which is good. Good shot. But yeah, these cranes, and they're actually, it's faded here, but I don't know if you call it a derrick crane, maybe, but they're lifting one of these blocks into place. So again, it's all there. This is a thing you're not being shown people by the Tartarian advocates, is that there's not a horse in sight. It's not just horse and cart. This is another one. Look, these cranes are cog operated, powerful. I don't know what these guys are doing in the corner over there. But look, you can just see they're working all the way down. And here's another one of that side. Steam crane up there. And this goes all the way there. You can see people all the way down here. So it's quite deep. I don't think the camera really does it justice, how deep that is. There's people up there as well. So where's a mud flood? Do you know what I mean? It's that this is why our cities and stuff go down, is because the Victorians were building down. They were building these tunnels, these railways, because they could. And I mean, it's incredible, really, when you think about it. But it wouldn't be that hard to add some buildings underground here, would it, really?
I think that goes back to the digging out of the mud flood would be more difficult than building the buildings themselves. And this would be case in point. This would all have been mud flooded. So all that mud was dug out to reopen this. How long does that take? You guys are so blown away by a building getting done in a year, even though China puts buildings up today in 19 days. That we do stuff like that today. So how long does it take to pull all the mud out of this?
Yeah, this debunks the mud flood hypothesis, and especially when it's yoked together with that impossible architecture argument, because you can't have both. There's no way you can have both. So yeah, I think everybody's got the mud flood thing wrong, and I think it's actually hurting real research, because I think some stuff has been deliberately buried and hidden, but then stuff has actually been deliberately built as well, like this. Railway warehouse. There you go. That's where they're making all your parts. All the wheels, all the bits and the bobs, and they are all looking at the camera because there's a cameraman there come to take a picture of them at work, and they probably feel pretty special, although this guy is still moving. Yeah, and it's busy. I mean, look at all these cogs and the wheels and stuff up in the ceilings. It's obviously very efficient, but God, it's busy. Probably not. Probably wouldn't pass safety regulations today for a warehouse. Probably a lot of hazards going on here. There's another angle again. This is 1890. This is before San Francisco burnt down. And the cart in the middle. So they did it. And this is the builders. I don't know why I keep mentioning San Francisco. I've just got it in my head today for some reason, but it's just some bricklayers. And no, this was the point, is that again, after that earthquake and fire, they rebuilt very quickly. And again, you think, oh, just with horse and cart. No, it's not just with horse and cart. This is an electric and steam locomotive hauling debris, clearing the sites. So they had this stuff, and that looks quite futuristic, really. That.
Well, who built that stuff, Ewar? You're not understanding. Who built it?
Oh no! Well, let's just here. These guys built it, unless it's all
who built them.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the
exactly.
Real...
See, you don't know
who built these guys. What else we got? Yeah, just more cranes at the port, and all this timber. Here we go. Look at all this timber, loads of it. Look in the air, big cranes. It's 1910, I think, so a little bit more advanced. But the only thing that's kind of advanced is the cranes. It's still the same thing. It's just that they're a bit more streamlined and probably a bit more powerful. It's the same thing. And this is another winding engine. You got it's a portable engine. There's all your cable or your rope. And this is like some sort of steam mechanism. And they're just winding it in so that they can haul stuff to and fro the site. And that's really what it was, not horse and car. Steam lorry. At the turn of the 20th century, the steam lorry goes back to the 1700s. But there were actually like laws in place during the 19th century that people couldn't drive steam trucks and things like that for personal use. They actually deliberately kept it to horse and cart, probably because they didn't have the infrastructure to do with it, and there might have been some sort of financial reasons. But these were around and they were used for hauling goods and heavy loads. So again, it's not just horse and cart. I mean, this is pretty smooth. Look at this thing. Not bad, is it?
Not bad for a fake photo.
Yeah. And here we go. Big logs on a cart.
Yeah, that's hilarious because that reminds me of the people who try to defend the World's Fairs, and they're like, do you understand how much wood that would take? And it's like, have you heard of deforestation? Like, it didn't happen overnight. And even the ones in California, it's like they had the redwoods next door. Where'd all the redwoods go? Yeah, they got chopped down to build the World's Fairs. It's depressing. That's where the real unfortunate part of that story is. Not that it was an ancient civilization that got covered up from you. Is we lost some really beautiful trees for some temporary stuff, and we're just as wasteful today. We're actually more wasteful today because we can speed up the process of removing and chopping everything down.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So there's a timber works. Some of the machines that I've shown before, don't know whether they're like planers or what, but there's your warehouse. People at work making the timber. I found this really exciting because I'm a loser. But on their docks as well, they didn't just, use cranes. They had these tipping wagons and tipping mechanisms that would load whether it's coal or, anything like that into the ships and the boats. So here's another one. This again, so they've made things efficient for themselves. So it isn't a case of having to pick everything up and put it somewhere. Things would come from the chute. The tipping wagons would tip it into the boats. There we go. Right. This is how they move things around. It's nothing to do with a horse and cart.
It's amazing. Yeah, all obsolete technology too. That's why we don't see it.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got some more. It's another tipping station. And this is probably a canal with these little barges, these coal barges, because they needed coal to, for their steam to work. Yeah, again, amazing. Steam coal, Cardiff. That looks pretty old, doesn't it?
Looks like you even have the horse in the background there that roll it in.
Exactly, yeah. And you got your tracks. They didn't dig any of this out. There's no way. And this is brilliant as well. Is that they're called tugboats, and so it's probably easier if I show you this one. This is a tugboat. So in the canals, they'd have the horse, and that's why a lot of canals they have a path running down them. Is that the horses would tug these boats along, and they're full of coal and rubble and stone and whatnot. Probably could get some bricks in there as well. But when it gets to where it needs to go, it'll be hauled up to here, loaded up. If this was a brick making site or a coal site, it'd be loaded up. It'd be brought down into the water, and then you're in a situation like this.
Those were wonderful. That was a really good photo collection. Good find on you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that these photos do exist. Is that no one's looking, or if they found them, they're deliberately not talking about them because just to say horse and car. I don't know why I keep going on about it, but it gets on my tits.